overcomplicating things on the squash court.
Yeah.
So we're trying to play shots at a time when A, we're not in the position to play them, and B, we don't have the skill to play them when we haven't practiced enough at that thing. And as I said, we're not in the position to do so.
But that's also the same in business, in that you've got to have a high level of discipline to remain focused on doing the basics really. Guys, welcome to episode 60 of the Velocity podcast.
60 episodes. We're not pros because
You just twatted the mic.
I'll probably spill water on it in a minute.
Absolutely. But yeah, we've got a fresh setting for this. So if you're listening, you obviously can't see it, but we're in a little podcast studio.
We are.
Decided to level up a little bit.
We've got the fake plants.
We have the acoustic boarding.
Yeah.
The empty cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Happy days.
But yeah, it started today. Didn't start the best for you, did it, my friend? Tell the story. Get it out your system.
I need to get it out of the system. The day started fine, but actually, where we've just come from, we prior to coming here, we went to our usual brunch space for a nice bit of brunch and a coffee, and we'd parked up on the road and where we usually park, and I come back to my car and it's clamped. It's got a white, kind of an A4 notice stuck to there. You know, it's yellow, it's black kind of lines, and it's writing, and it says, borough of Reading or whatever, and call this number. You've got a fine. We've clamped your vehicle. So immediately you have the reaction like, what? I initially thought I'd parked in the wrong space. Like I'd accidentally parked in the permit bit rather than the paid bit. So I thought that's why. But I thought you just got like a little...
Yeah, a clamp would be pretty savage for that, wouldn't it?
It would be, rather than just like a no, pay this notice and then you crack on, which has happened before. But I call the number and the woman answered the phone and says, yeah, back in August last year, you drove into a bus lane, which is obviously illegal.
It's March 2025, by the way.
Yeah, so what's that, 7 months ago,
Yeah.
You did this thing and you haven't paid the fine, so Reading Borough is taking you to court. Like, hang on, this is straight out of left field. So, and I said, well, I haven't heard anything about this. Like, if I'd have got a letter, I'd have said, fair play, innocently, I thought it was the two lanes, not in a bus, blah, 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 blah. But, it can happen to the best of us, right? And she said, but we've sent, letters to your address in Bushy, which is where my wife and I, Natalie and I, used to live 8 years ago. We've been in our new house in Welling for 8 years. So I'm thinking, hang on, I've got letters from driving-related letters, more fines.
Got loads of them. Got a whole folder full of them, mate.
I frame them, mate. To our current address, and so I'm thinking, how? Anyway, so it turns out not to just getting out of the system. Turns out that our car is still officially registered to the old address.
Yeah.
But our driving licenses, which is the difference, is registered to our current address. So you've got driving license, you've got the car itself. So I think some people, if they've found this address somehow and they've tried to send me, but it's gone to the wrong address. Yeah. So it's I think it's all good now. But that moment initially of like, have I done something really wrong? How much else have I missed out on? And it raises this uncertain gap that I'm like, oh my God, this is a bit disconcerting. But I think we're on top of it now.
So in that headspace, I'm like, come on, mate, sit down. Let's do a podcast and talk about business.
Perfect. Let's just riff on it. And I'm like, hang on, I might have thousands of pounds worth of fines waiting for me at a flat I haven't lived in for 8 years.
You'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
That's fine. Be all right.
But keeping on the theme of this morning, before that, we did what we normally do when we come to Reading. So we live kind of half equidistant away from Reading. So we come here every week to do some work. Yep. And before we do that, we always meet and we always have a game of squash.
Yes.
Squash is our thing. For anybody watching, listening, if you don't know that, shame on you. But
it's a bit. You get two of you get inside a big boxed cage.
Yeah.
And you whack a ball against a wall until you're tired.
That's the simple version.
That's the gist of it.
And it's my third child. It's your second child.
Yep.
Squash is a big part of our lives. But we love doing it. We love getting together every Thursday.
We co-parent squash. Don't we?
We do. Yeah, we do. But as always, there's so many comparables, isn't there? We always talk about fitness and the comparisons behind the principles of fitness and how you actually build a business in the fitness industry. Yeah. And we had we were fucked, weren't we, this morning?
I'm still tired, mate, if I'm honest. I've had a little stressful episode, but I still feel a bit wiped from this morning.
We had an absolute marathon, so it was a 3-2 match, and we were knackered, and we were talking about why we were so tired, and a little bit, both of us a little bit frustrated with how we played, and as per usual, our brains drifted off into the world of business.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, because it reminded us of such an important thing that we see a lot of people making the mistakes of when it comes to trying to grow a business, or just maybe not so mistakes, but they just don't pay enough attention to this particular thing, right?
Yeah. So we both observed, and we do this a lot, that we're overcomplicating things on the squash court.
Yeah.
So we're trying to play shots at a time when A, we're not in the position to play them, and B, we don't have the skill to play them, because we're trying to play much more advanced moves on the court when we haven't practiced enough at that thing. And as I said, we're not in the position to do so. And so in our head, we've got coaches, and we practice and we challenge each other on how to get better at squash, and we kind of help each other realize and work on these things. But when we, in the heat of a game, a competitive game, we like to challenge each other on, in a competitive way. We're like, okay, why are we doing that? Why are we choosing the moment when we're really under pressure and we're tired and we're being forced into a literal corner? Why are we trying to do something really complex? Why do we not just come back to the basics and get really good at some simple things? And you then said you were chatting to another player who said you said that he tries to bore his opponents to death through his simple choices, doing the same stuff over and over again, but he's really fucking good at it. So that's why he can beat so many people at that game.
Yeah, like in this particular guy who he's retired from squash now, but he comes to watch us every week in our team games, and he was telling me literally last night that he was something like number 4 or 5 in the country at the time, like amateur, really good player. And he said, whenever I was playing someone that was more skilled than me, I used to bore them to death on the court.
Yeah.
So I would pick, are they stronger on their forehand or their backhand? And wherever they were stronger, I wouldn't hit it over there. Yeah. And I would just play the same shot for the entire match and try and bore them to death.
Yeah.
And essentially what he's saying is he got really, really, really good at one particular discipline of squash. And that took him so far. And the comparison in business is that can be really boring, right? Playing, I mean, I can't imagine that in my head right now, just playing the same shot for an hour and 20 minutes to try and win a squash match. But that's also the same in business, in that you've got to have a high level of discipline to remain focused on doing the basics really, really, really well.
Yeah.
And so what is very easy to do, and we totally get it, is to get distracted, is to get the shiny object syndrome, and instead start to try and do lots and lots of new, entertaining, fun, and different things that maybe, bringing it back to squash, you're not in the position to do.
Yeah.
And you're not good enough at. Yeah. It's just not the right time. And the funny thing is, like, bringing it back to squash for a second, we get frustrated at ourselves when we play a shot and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But we think about the shot that we played, like, oh, I fucked that up, that should have been better. Actually, no, that's not true. It was just the wrong thing to do. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I think bringing that back to business now, that's so true, isn't it? I tried to run an ad campaign and it was really expensive and it failed. Or I bought 100 t-shirts and nobody purchased them.
And then the natural thing is then you're stacking evidence that suggests that I'm just really bad. I'm shit at this stuff. I can't do it. As opposed to thinking, well, no, you've got a lot of skills and attributes and qualities, but the thing you chose to do wasn't the right thing. It's a really empowering way of analyzing what you've done and what you're doing right now. And we've been in this position many a time, that if you're not getting a result that you're really after, maybe and there's kind of one or two things. Maybe you're doing the wrong thing because you're trying to overcomplicate something, which we're masters at, and we'll talk more about that. We're talking, side note, we're talking about spreadsheets and trainings and stuff and overcomplicating things. But that's another way to say the same thing. But maybe I'm overcomplicating. Maybe I'm just doing the wrong stuff. And if I am able to zoom back out and like check on, okay, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? What aligns with like what I'm trying to achieve in my business, and how can I find the kind of the central piece of that puzzle?
Yeah.
Do that and accept that it's going to be a bit boring. Yeah. And I resonate with that as well, because I myself, and we've had many coaches that we've spoken to and we work with who'll say something like, I've done that now, I want to do something different.
What's next? What's the next step?
Yeah. And often I think originally, I don't know if I think you feel the same. We used to feel, because we had to work through that ourselves. It's like, yeah, let's do something new and exciting and shiny. It's fun. It's engaging. As opposed to saying, I want you to do the same thing again. And it's like, oh, a bit of disappointment in that. And you're not, it's like with a personal trainer and their client, we've done squats. What can we do next? Like more squats, because they get the job done. And let's figure out how we can do them better and better, and more of them are better, and get even more benefit from it. I want to do something different. And the chopping and changing is like, okay, maybe a little bit of variety can help, but actually there is a cost to variety and changing and mixing things up all the time.
Yeah. So the point here, the thing that we wanted to really talk about on this podcast was we've gathered a lot of evidence now. We've been in the industry for a long time, many years, and we've now helped a lot of coaches. And we see correlations. We see patterns of behavior. Everybody's different, and they work through our program. If we look at it through that lens, in lots of different ways. But fundamentally, the people that move the fastest, the people that get to where they want to get to with the least amount of stress and overwhelm, are the ones that just do the basics really, really well. And the way that you get to be able to do the basics really, really well is not by just being good at it naturally and going, oh, cool, I've ticked that box. Yeah. It's by what you just said. It's by repetition. This word iteration, which is essentially like building and building and building on the same thing to get better and better at it. Squats being a great example. You don't just do a squat for the first time and go, cool, tick that box, let's move on. There's so many tiny little tweaks and adjustments and different things that you can look at within a squat so that you're getting more and more and more and more from the same exercise. And that's really what we want to talk about in this podcast. The idea that if you are disciplined enough, and if you are clear on the outcome that you want, if you can stick to the basics and just get better and better and better at doing those basic things, whether it's attracting leads, whether it's converting them into clients, whether it's serving them at the highest level, or whether it's building systems, just keep to those basics until you've got absolutely every single bit of juice out of them that you can. You'll be in a far, far, far greater position than if you're trying to focus on lots and lots of different things at any one time. And that's just such a common thread, isn't it, of frustration for coaches.
And then I think another parallel here is, okay, I get that, and I need to do the basics and keep things simple and prevent me drifting into the complex, shiny object stuff. The next question is, cool, now I'm there, how do I stick at it long enough to get the results that I'm after? Because once we accept that, if we look at generating leads or getting results with clients, it's not, we know it deep down, we know it's not an overnight success thing. We're not just going to click and then boom, we've got it, even though that's quite seductive. It's like a long game. And so let's go back to squash for a second. You and I have got a coach, and one thing that my coach has said to me, and I think yours has said similar, is you need to get, focus on the basics. And for us in squash, it's line and length, which basically means hitting the ball up and down.
Please do explain that.
It's like hitting the ball up and down a wall as close to the wall as possible, as consistently as you can. It
sounds so fucking boring.
It is boring. Now we can break down the technique, but that is literally, you're hitting a ball against a wall and you're trying to get it. Like imagine, so you've got a wall that's probably, how big is a squash court? Say 30 feet or something? Something like 30 feet long. And on the floor is floorboards, right? And the floorboards are usually 1 inch to 2 inches wide. Two, if you're trying to impress me. So what our coach says to us is you need to go on court on your own and just hit the ball up and down the wall and keep it as highest percentage of your shots as possible within 2-3 floorboards of that wall. And keep going until you can do it 10, 20, 30 shots in a row. That's your homework, mate. You're like, really? Can I not do these fancy trick shots that's really fun and exciting to pull off? No, you just got to do the basics. So that's the squash context. That's what we have to do to get better, and we need to do fewer things. So you and I are trying cross courts and really jazzy little flick shots and deception things and all the exciting stuff that we see the pros do, but we're not pros.
No. The other thing with that, right, is I was thinking about when spectators watch us play. right? So no, stick with me.
All right.
This is the point. You don't get a cheer and a round of applause by hitting the ball up and down the wall really tight to it 20 times in a row.
Yeah.
You get a cheer and a round of applause when you flick a shot, it hits something called the nick and basically means that there's no chance that the opponent can do it. So naturally your brain wants to do that thing that is going to get you the big cheer and make you feel really, really good. Exactly the same in business.
Yeah.
I'm a personal trainer. I want to get a website. Yeah. I want to get branded t-shirts.
Because when you see them, like you'll get a reaction. Oh, that looks nice.
You must be doing well.
Yeah.
The reality is that you're not, because you've spent all of your time designing all of the flashy stuff and you've not spent enough time working on the basics. So it's also it's the uncelebrated stuff. It's the stuff that isn't seen. It's the stuff that happens in the background. It's the boring stuff. And unfortunately, it's that stuff that really is going to make the difference when it comes to growing a successful business. And when I say successful, our mission is to help face-to-face coaches initially in our sort of main program get to consistent 7K months. So you're making £7,000 a month. If you're elsewhere in the world, then just convert that to your thing. But you're making £7,000 a month every single month without fail. And it's super, super consistent. And again, people might argue that's a little boring, right? Because why don't I sell high ticket and have a 20K month? Yeah. Well, probably because the next month's going to be 2K.
Yeah. Your anxiety will be through the fucking roof, mate.
So that's our mission. And so we know, and we've got so much evidence of this now, that the coaches that we work with, and we've helped, a 4-figure number of coaches now, the people that get there fastest, the people that get there best, and the people that can then go further than that, a lot further than that, when they've built those foundations, are the ones that have done the basics again and again and again. And they've been able to avoid that shiny object. They've kind of got that the blinkers on, as we talk about, right? And they've just followed that process. But
so there's two little examples, like to make it really practical, to stick with business stuff for a minute. So but the subject here is how do I generate leads as a PT, and we can look at an example if you're in a gym, and an example if you're not, and you're kind of using social media to get attention, right?
Yeah, sure.
So one recently, and you and I've done a lot of this. So this is with a client of ours, and he has a gym, and he's trying to get attention. He's trying to make bookings and get clients. So that's his thing. And what he's done is we run a campaign which is selling a free thing, a lead magnet, basically an in-person delivered lead magnet. Is what this thing is. And he's using one of our trainings to put together an advertising set of banners and posters and cards and emails and whatnot for the gym. And that makes members inquire to this free thing, and then he does the free thing. Now, because you chatted to this guy this week, and what we found was he was really good on the first round of this, really good at getting people talking to him, pretty good at getting people to book in with him, but wasn't so good at converting those people to clients.
Yeah.
And so there was some good stuff, there was some not so good stuff. So we've reviewed it, and we're doing basically the same thing again now. And we've changed the face of it. So we're kind of going a slightly different angle. So there's a bit of freshness, and we're not getting fatigue on the members' attention. So it's not the same thing over and over again. Like, that change is important.
Yeah.
But we're fundamentally running the same system again, having learned, you spent some time with him. So we're going to stick at same stuff, same attitude, same strategy, same goals in terms of like what to do on a daily basis, but we're just changing a couple of things and we're running it again because he's probably 1 or 2 tweaks away from this exploding. Yeah. And that's a gym. I want to do a studio, a social media one in a minute, but that's another, it's like an example of how this works in reality.
Yeah, it's so true. Like if you've got 8 out of 10 things that are working, but the 2 things that aren't working means that you get kind of an average outcome. Yeah. The very tempting thing is to just throw it all in the bin.
Yeah, I'll do something different now. That doesn't work. So
that failed. Yeah. But actually, what's important for us to do as mentors when we're working with our coaches, and if you're listening to this or watching this is our advice to you, is actually that thing has got a few different moving parts. Yeah. So let's again stick to the basics. Let's look at those moving parts and go, well, which one is working quite well? What am I happy with? What's kind of going okay there? And then what's the part that needs my focus? And this is about making small but significant tweaks and adjustments or iterations on something until you get it working.
So a little one here. Now this is a correlation to like PTing a client in the gym or in the studio. And so say take the squat that we talked about earlier. It's a bit like dissecting the squat.
Yeah.
And saying ankle mobility is good. Like knee travels well over that toe, and I can see heels grounded. I can see mobility at the ankle's good, and the foot's looking pretty strong and stable. So that's good. Knee, no pain. So knees flexing really nicely. Development of muscle around the quad is really solid. But there's a little butt wink and the back's rounding.
The old butt wink.
The old butt wink. So you're like, does that mean your squat's shit?
Yeah, let's not do squats.
Don't do squats.
No, butt wink. We're moving on. Next thing.
So what really the insight there is you can dissect a thing. It has lots of different literal moving parts in the squat sense. Like there's an ankle, there's a knee, there's a hip, there's spine, there's shoulder, there's whatever. And you could say like and what you would do is almost like an analysis. Let's pull it apart a minute and say, that's really good. Well done. That's brilliant. That bit's excellent. Love the look of that. Brilliant. This bit needs some work. And boom. So like, cool, let's work on that. And then every PT will get this. They'll be like, yeah, I get that. But it's difficult, and we're not slamming here, but it's difficult to carry that across to business. Because maybe the understanding that you have in business is not the same as the understanding you have of the body. But it is the same principle. So what we're saying, again, with this example of this client, is there's lots of good stuff this guy's doing. And I'm really excited to see the change. Once we've kind of made 2 or 3 little tweaks on this little one bit, like the butt wink, fix that, and this person's going to squat deep, they're going to squat strong, they're going to become a beast. Yeah. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, and this guy's generating lots of leads. He's nurturing those leads really well, which basically means he's getting them interested. Yeah. He's getting a good amount of bookings in his diary. His conversion rate at the moment is around about 50%. And so that's the only kind of amber flag, right? So we don't need to fuck around with the other stuff. No. We need to go, well, let's look at the nurture a little bit. Like, are we creating enough excitement for the booking, which we've played around with, and we've got a few things, and that's working better. Cool. When they show up, what is the actual process that you're taking them through? Who is showing up, first of all? Let's analyze that. Yeah. And then what's the process you're taking them through? And if we can get him from 50% to 70%, all of a sudden that thing that in someone that's not thinking this way would have just thrown in the bin, all of a sudden this is a fucking beast. Yeah. And this guy's signing clients up not 50% of the time, 70% of the time, and they're pouring through.
60% of the time it works every time.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
The other, just another small one to kind of maybe wrap this up a little bit is social media. And I think what a lot of trainers do with social is they make content and they're making some good, they're getting themselves across. Maybe they're sharing some of their knowledge. And some of the stuff they're posting is really, really good. And an example we have, we talk about the 6-stage ladder, which basically speaks to stages in a person's journey from going to being a stranger to you to being a referring client. And a short and simple way of explaining this problem is that they've got half of the solution online. So they've got content that builds trust, that shows they're a knowledgeable person, that they're fit, that they're someone that they can be looked up to, that they know their stuff. All brilliant, really important. You've got to have that authority. But what a lot of trainers miss is content which establishes rapport and gets them to resonate with the people they want to attract, to let them know that they understand and they get the journey they're going through, rather than positioning them up on a pedestal, not necessarily intentionally, but by default through delivering all of this very high knowledgeable content. Yeah. And so rather than saying social media doesn't work, it's just that we haven't yet figured out the whole picture, like the squat or like the thing we said with a client in the gym there. And so what oftentimes we've done is we've said, let's just make 2 pieces of content a week that speak about this, that resonate with your audience, that speak about you. And it's like, oh my God, I've had all these inquiries. And it's like, yeah, we just unkinked the hose in this one bit where the water wasn't flowing, and boom, you've done it. It's just one little tweak. So it's oftentimes you can be just 1 or 2 little tweaks away from making the thing you want to make work. Yeah.
So to conclude all of this, just like our game of squash, we need
make sure you change your address on your logbook,
or you'll end up with a fucking clamp on your car.
Correct.
No, so just like our squash, the way that we're going to get better at squash is not by trying to do the fancy stuff. It's not by trying to emulate someone that's 5, 6, 7, 8 steps ahead. It's by us going, well, what are we good at? What's really important? What are the foundations of this game that's going to allow me to get better? And to practice that again and again and again, and make little tweaks, little turns. Don't try to flip everything on its head. Yeah. And our message to you through this podcast is to do exactly the same with your business. What's really important? Well, you're going to need to know how to generate leads. That's something that is a basic foundational thing. You're going to need to know how to turn those leads into paying clients. Basic foundational thing. You're going to need to know how to serve your clients at a good level so that they want to stick around for a long time. And you're going to need some simple systems that allow you to do all of that stuff without getting overwhelmed. Those 4 things, basics of those 4 things, will transform your business if you are disciplined enough, if you're boring enough, if you're patient enough to just stay focused on those 4 and not get distracted by the next Instagram ad or whatever it might be. And that's really the point, isn't it, today?
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it.
Nice. All right, team. Thank you so much for listening, watching. Catch you soon.
Bye.